Hello, and welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. Today, I'm your host, Ebuka, and we'll be discussing Invincible episode 5 of season 3. I am joined by a special guest today. Unfortunately, we do not have the ability to duplicate ourselves, so we are operating a reduced team. I'm joined by the one, the only, Oseghale. How are you doing, my man? How's it going?
I'm good, man. A little bit tired, but I have to always show up for the popcorn for dinner buddies. So
Yes. They tune in for one man and one man only, and he brings them with him every time he comes on the show. So please, we're happy to have you. So, how have you been since we last spoke about Invincible? How did you feel about episodes 4 and 5? Because obviously today we're talking about 5, but I don't want to leave episode 4 untouched. How did you feel about 4 and 5?
honestly, episode 4 might actually be my favorite of the season so far.
Really?
That was a great episode, bro. Like the Allen and like Nolan dynamics, Mike and Eve getting cute, doing all their shit, like, bro, like it was a complete episode, like they covered all bases, bro. From like, teenagers sneaking to do things they're not meant to be doing, getting caught by like the parents, like, that nostalgic feeling of like high school love. Then the dynamic between Allen and finally convincing Nolan to be like, okay, yeah, like, you know what, I should actually like fight and actually atone for the things I did instead of just dying like a little bitch. Like, so yeah, I really enjoyed episode 4. And episode 5 was nice too.
That's a good way to put it. As a favorites, that's interesting. I didn't actually look at 4 as one that would be high up there as a favorite, but the way you explained it actually did make me think it's a very well-rounded episode. It touched on a lot of things and also gave us a lot about Mark and where his character is going. And now we see Omni-Man possibly returning to the fold. So I think you've given a summary of episode 4 and just a quick recap to give a couple thoughts. Right? My feeling on episode 4 was that, yes, we finally have some semblance of adding Omni-Man and Allen back to the main story, that they're coming back now. They're free from their Viltrumite prison. And Mark also went on a journey, the type of journey we love when every hero takes, right? Like a random side quest that makes them discover things about themselves or discover things about the world. Now, in episode 5, which is what we're going to be discussing majorly today, this episode is something I would describe as, I want to use the term filler episode, but I want to caveat that by saying I am not someone who has anything against filler episodes. I used to love filler episodes because sometimes you get to see your favorite characters do a random adventure or something that has low stakes. And in this episode, although it seems like a filler, I think it really does add to Mark's journey this season. In this episode, he has to decide once again what is the greater good. He's approached by Diamond Head to break someone out of prison because he doesn't want the worst villain to go and do it himself, right? He is debating with himself what's the right thing to do, and he refuses to help Diamond Head because he thinks he cannot help a criminal, even though there's a worse criminal that's going to take power if he doesn't. And further to that, him and Eve are also trying to set up their own business, a superhero defense company where they rent themselves out to, ironically, prison yards to defend them in case of outbreaks or anything of the sort. So a couple highlights from this episode that I was thinking about, and feel free to let me know how you're feeling about it, is that I'm seeing this season so far as the season where Mark decides what kind of hero he wants to be. So previously I had said that, it would be really difficult for Mark to become a hero with the influence of Cecil and being the spawn of Omni-Man and everything that he's seen so far in his life. But I'm starting to feel that this season is the one where he decides what kind of hero he's going to be. Sometimes he has that Spider-Man vibe where he's like your friendly neighborhood Invincible, and sometimes he is a pure Viltrumite. So at this stage, with everything he's seen so far, Cecil telling him you can't save the world and be a good guy, and him realizing that sometimes there is a greater good or there's a hierarchy of evil when it comes to criminals, it might now come to a time where Mark no longer is an absolute moralist. He doesn't think his way is the only right way, and he now sees the gray in people and gray in others. How did you feel about this episode and the journey we saw with Mark?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like you put it really well, right? Like this was an episode where Mark had a lot of tough decisions to make, right? Because it's like, first of all, Titan, again, like Diamond Head, had already tricked Mark before in the past and betrayed him.
Precisely.
So Mark was even already not trusting anything he was saying, right? So he's like, he comes and he's like, yo, bro, like people are gonna die, this and that. Like, and Mark is just like, bro, I'm not falling for this shit again, bro. Like, come on, like. But then, like, I love the fact that like Titan now takes Mark to his neighborhood, like his hood that he's in charge of, and he shows him that, like, bro, you want me to be in charge. Like, I've cleaned up this place. Like, their children can like literally walk to school in the neighborhood. Like, bro, like people like are standing outside, like, you know, they're actually having a good time. So like, yeah, he kind of has become, so Titan has become the kingpin of that area, but it's clear that he actually cares about the people. Like, he's actually trying. Like, but Mark is like, bro, yeah, like crime is down, but you know, the only crime allowed is the crime you are committing. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It's all or nothing.
so nothing. And Titan is like, bro, you need to be for real now. It's either this or it goes back to how it was before when Machine Head was in charge, or even worse. And it's like, on the one hand, again, yes, I completely understand where Mark is coming from. If you work with a criminal, then it's like, what's your moral code as a hero, right? And that's the whole thing about being a hero. Like, it's about ideals. Obviously, you can't be right all the time, or you can't do everything that you want to do, but you have to strive to reach that ideal of being a hero. And I feel like it's also important for Mark, like we said earlier, to know what his ideal of being a hero is. So for him, being a hero that compromises, especially like you said, with everything that has happened with Omni-Man, with Cecil and everything, is like, for him, that's not the kind of hero he wants to be. And he's already making a decision to not be that hero. And the good thing about it is that now he also has Eve supporting him, right? Because before, like, Mark would literally be trying to like make all these decisions on his own. He can't really talk to anybody about it. He just feels like a fuck up. And now he's talking to Eve. And so one thing that stuck out to me was like when the whole prison like break was happening, when you went as a dragon to the actual prison, right? And Eve was like, oh, let's go. And he's like, oh, that he wants to go alone, that, you know, he doesn't want Eve like getting hurt because of his mistake. And Eve is like, bro, like, we're together now. Like, I'm here to support you. You don't have to like do all these things on his own. And it's like, that's the, like, now Mark is like starting to actually realize that he's not alone, like in like the whole superhero thing and in life in general. Like, cause obviously like he knew he wasn't alone, but bro, it was just his mother and his little brother. Like, a lot of the time they couldn't really directly help him. Now he has somebody that is advocating for him and can also actually help him fight crime. So I feel like in this episode it's established that he's in a pretty good place right now. And I want to see how they're gonna fuck that up, because we know how the show goes.
I love where you went with that, because I was honestly thinking when I first watched this episode, I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Him and Eve, he has someone he can fly with, someone he can share superhero troubles with. And I loved how much Mark was talking to her. If he's troubled about something, he would tell her this is happening. And I loved how much she calmed him down, told him everything was going to be okay. And then on my rewatch, as I was rewatching the episode, I thought, yeah, Eve is a goner. Like, she's not going, something is going to happen very soon. Maybe not very soon, but I just feel so bad. It just feels too good to be true in the case of Mark, that something like this is going to happen for him. So really, really hoping that's not the case. Their relationship is perfect. It's what he needs, especially with struggling with this. Like you said, he's really alone because his mom is not a superhero type. His little brother is still a little brother. He has to perform that role of big brother to him. He can't take him as his peer. And even who does he have? Like, the best person he could have had was his dad, and we all know how that turned out. So yeah, in terms of Mark, right? Outside of him being a hero and outside of his romantic, you know, dealings. The other thing that I thought was interesting in this episode is when he was fighting the dragon, I'm starting to feel a shift within Mark, especially this season, where before he had the potential in him to kill out of anger, say with how we did with Angstrom, right? But what I'm seeing him maybe do more now is the kind of way he fought the Viltrumites on Thraxa. Thraxa? Is it Thraxa?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where
That's
he was moving with purpose, right? He wasn't killing out of anger. He was killing out the most efficient way to quickly end the fight. And I saw it with the dragon where he saw, okay, we were wasting too much time. Although it didn't work because of the dragon, he was wasting too much time and he thought, okay, let me just end this with one move. And today, this episode was a good one for our boy, Ollie, right? The Ollie detractors, speaking of Mark and his family, the people who thought Ollie was going to end up as baby Hitler, Ollie ended up being good, right? Like it feels like he's taking in the message that Mark and his mom were trying to pass on to him. This episode made some normal friends, and he seems to be doing good. Let's keep our fingers crossed that is good, that it stays this way. Because if you listen to our last episode, there was not a lot of people in the Oliver Oliver Defense League.
Yeah, like again, like I said the last episode, I'm not writing off the boy because he made a mistake. Was it a big mistake? Was it a
Yeah.
scary mistake? Yes, it was. But
Mm-hmm.
again, he's still a child. He's growing very fast, and he still doesn't understand some things. Like I love that scene in the skate park because it's like Mark is there, scared as shit when the bullies pull up because he's like,
I
I
was
don't
scared
know.
too.
Me too. I'm like, hey man. I don't know what's about to happen. I don't know what Ollie's about to do, but
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't go down the path. So when he uses super speed to pass them, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm happy I was right. Like he's trying to be a normal kid. Like all the stuff they said actually like got through to him. He knows that like he can't just kill people willy-nilly. Because again, like in that kind of situation, bro, like Mark is like, imagine this guy just cuts their heads off. Like, what am I going to do? But nah,
What do
all
you
is
do, man?
literally so. But all is really just trying to be a normal kid, have normal friends. Cause like, bro, when we were like, oh, he first snuck out, I thought it was even like him sneaking out because you know he was kind of pissed that like Mark said he was moving out, something like that. Only to find this guy practicing tricks in the skate park with his friends. And I'm like, oh, this is just some
Very,
regular
very
kid shit.
wholesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Very,
also
very wholesome.
some wholesome shit.
Speaking of regular kid shit, something that stunned me, and it's really good with how they kind of show them side by side, is that on one hand, I'm impressed by how in the Invincible universe, at least in the show, there's a lot of things that just exist and are accepted. So like superheroes, you have the prisons with supervillains, people with superpowers. There's not too much talk about, do we accept them? Do we not? They're just people with powers, right? They exist. And
Mm-hmm.
aliens are one of them. And then the other thing that they also try really hard to show you is how abnormal a lot of these people's lives are. So for example, I forget a lot that Mark is still a teenager, right? That he's still a baby, and you see it with him. You also see it with Rex and some of the conversations they have. Even when they left Cecil's team, you're reminded that this thing is presented to us as if it's normal, but in reality, it's not. These guys are kids having to deal with. Eve is probably the most mature one, and
Yep.
she is still a child herself. Speaking of Eve, right? One thing I've always thought about throughout Invincible's run is that Eve has one of the most underrated powers in the show. I feel like she doesn't use it enough, but this episode we got to see her really do her thing. And further to that, I think Eve can be even more deadly because she should be able to kill things with one touch. Right now, she does a lot of Green Lanterning with her structures, but I feel like she should be able to touch things and change their DNA like her powers insist, right? But Multi-Paul had the most creative use of his powers I've ever seen. Very messed up, very, very messed up, but still 10 out of 10 points for creativity and trying to escape and trying to escape jail.
Bro, literally, when I watched that scene, I put in my notes, what a guy in brackets. Because at first, like, I was trying to understand what he was doing. Then I noticed, and I'm like, wow, this guy is actually legitimately insane. Like, who
Bro,
would
it
think
is
of doing
a
this?
crazy plan.
Like,
Extremely crazy.
how can you make so many clones of yourself that your prison cell literally explodes? Like who does that? And I also like that they went into the dynamic between Paul and Kate,
And
right?
Kate, right? Yeah.
Because yeah, showing like how their dad actually legitimately went crazy. Cause they were
Bro.
just multiplying and running around the house. Then they got taken in by a government organization and was training them. But and it's so funny, bro. Like it's like perspective is such a funny thing because Kate is like, yeah, that like obviously they got taken in because their dad couldn't care for
Couldn't handle
them.
them, yeah.
Yeah, and Paul is like, bro, their dad lets them get taken, and he's angry at
Mm-hmm.
their dad. And Kate is like, bro, like you shouldn't have left the training, bro. And he's like, guy, they were turning us into weapons. And she's like, guy, we left the training to become an assassin. What are you talking about? And the
Oh
guy's
my
like, bro,
God.
at least. And she's like, bro, you're a murderer. And he's like, guy, you're a murderer too, bro. At least in the order, I know what I am, and nobody pretends, bro. And it's like, bro, and again, like, that's another thing that goes, I feel like flies under the radar in a lot of like superhero stories because, like I said, like a lot of guys striving to be that ideal hero, right? Like it gets to
Mm-hmm.
the point that you are doing things for the greater good, but that doesn't change the fact that you're doing fucked up stuff.
Yeah.
So literally, she's like, oh, but like I saved the country from getting nuked. And this guy was like, yeah, but you still kill people. So why are you looking at me for killing people for money when the other pays better than the GDA? We're doing the same shit. We're doing the same shit. It's just packaging. And that's literally another thing to think about because, bro, we are working for Cecil, bro. That's not
Mm-hmm.
like that. Cecil is going to do anything that needs to be done to get the job done. And he's going to expect his heroes to do the same. So Paul is just like, bro, at least me, I know what I'm doing. And I'm getting paid. I'm not
Yep.
here doing any mental gymnastics to say, oh, I'm a hero. Yeah, I killed that nigga, but I'm a hero. Like, you feel me? So it was a pretty interesting dynamic, and I'm glad that's something they incorporated into the episode.
It's interesting because TJ, the Fat Thor who was on our last episode speaking with Bankole in episode 4, he mentioned that Ray, for example, in the comics doesn't have much of a backstory. Same thing with Amber, right? That like once they made their appearance, they basically got written out of the comics. But I think what the show does really well is that it's giving a lot of these side characters their own stories, right? Like in this episode, we saw that Diamond Head has a daughter, he has a family. We saw like you said, the dynamic between Kate and Paul. And one part of me feels like the show is not going to do all these things for nothing. And the main reason I think that is that it wouldn't explore all these avenues for them to fall away because people would accuse it of wasting time. Because if they're not going to keep exploring these characters and making it important to the story, it would feel like, oh, this was a wasted 5 minutes learning about Kate and Paul. So I am keen to see more of that in the future, more of that dynamic, like you said, the perspective, right? That's been the major push and pull this season. Who's the right side? What is right to do? Who even determines what's right? Is this Cecil? Does every hero need to have their own moral code? What are the rules and regulations behind this crap? So looking forward to more exploration of the smaller characters in Invincible.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, they've already started like building the lives of these characters really well. And I hope to see where they take it. But again, with multiple and Kate, I feel for sure that's something that's gonna like play more into the future, right? Because he like obviously he ends up like escaping, but they don't know. But he leaves a
Mm-hmm.
message for Kate to show that he's out. So I want to see like what they're gonna do with that particular storyline. It's so funny that like Machine Head, for some reason, like I really forgot how crazy Machine Head was until him and Titan like meet again, and he's like, "Oh, Bro, Titan is so funny, bro. He comes and he's like, oh yeah, Liu crossed a line. And Machine is like, oh wow, that's crazy. Are you going to report him to HR?
Like we're
Like,
criminals. What line are you
it's
talking
like,
about?
bro, what is the line, bro? Like, you know what you signed up for. You're talking about,
Yeah.
oh, he crossed a line. Like, are you for real? And there was another quote that he had. He said that, yeah, you crawled out of my thumb, but there's always a bigger thumb. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
bro, that's what it is. That's literally what it is for you. Like,
That
normal.
is the world.
Yeah, bro, literally, like, no matter how you look at it, because it's like you escape one, like, look at Mark, for example. He left,
Mm-hmm.
being under CISO at the future might escape. So it's like, no matter what it is, no matter what it is,
Oh God.
there's literally always a bigger thumb. And the
Yeah.
sooner you realize that and move accordingly, hey, man, that's all you can do.
I do wonder how the show will balance this, because I feel like they've done it really well so far. But one of the hardest things they're doing is that balancing act between street level hero show and like the big story, which is the Viltrumites wanting to conquer Earth. And the way I see it is like Invincible, the episodes, I broadly split them into three. One is the Mark's turmoil. Like there could be an episode completely focused on Mark's emotional well-being, his growth, what he's thinking. There can be an episode that is mostly centered on the conflict with the Viltrumite. So either Omni-Man is in there or it's something bigger than just Earth. And then there's the stuff like episode 5, which you just watched, which is a street level, quick episode where we're just seeing Mark interacting with, on a smaller scale than he typically is used to. But I feel like if we want to discuss the overall story, we need to discuss some of episode 4 and maybe that ending where Omni-Man says that there are less than 50 pure-blooded Viltrumites living in the universe. And what did you think following that statement? And what do you think that means for the stories after this?
So,
Because that
like,
changes everything.
it literally changes everything, because again, like when I'm thinking of before, like when I was thinking of the future mass, I'm like, bro, there's a planet full of these niggas, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can yeah, like they can fight them, but bro, fighting like, cause in my mind I'm like, okay, fighting what 500 plus of these guys is no matter how strong you are, bro, this is nuts. But now that Nolan has said that, bro, is less than 50 of these guys left, then it makes so much sense, right? Because they literally cannot afford to send reinforcements when they lose fights. Like, when they lose guys, they just have to be like, hey, man, them guys deserve to die. hopefully the next guy is stronger. And it's crazy because, like, that whole fight sequence between Allen, Battle Beast, Nolan, and the other Viltrumites, that's actually one of my favorite fight sequences in Invincible so far. Like, it was so well done. And it was so funny because Battle Beast is like, bro, like, Battle Beast sees Allen, he's like, bro, do you have worthy challengers for me? He's like, bro, there are Viltrumites outside.
He said, don't worry.
He said, oh, okay, I'm ready to go. And he was ready to go. The guy said, yeah, man, I'm ready to die. Like, let us fight. He said, yeah, if this challenge takes my life, then so be it. And he was not joking. That guy went crazy. It's so funny, bro. Allen is so funny, bro. Because I remember when that Viltrumite was decking Allen. And I'm like, bro, Allen is stronger than this. Like, why is this guy pretending? Like, that's literally the first thing that came to my head. I'm like, bro, why is Allen pretending? Then, for you to admit he was pretending to Ginger and Nolan, I said, yeah, I knew that. I knew this nigga was lying, bro. I'm like, bro, I saw, like, bro, this nigga made Anissa bleed with one punch, bro. Like, let's be for real. Right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he has his own strength. But yeah, like you said, it does change everything, because now if we know there's less than 50, then maybe there's a chance to, take them. And the Viltrumites are also not being smart either. They keep sending some low-level guys to Nolan. I don't know if they're expecting him to just be submissive and take whatever they send, but they have big men that they haven't sent to him.
Like, it's so funny. I think the problem is, like, in the Viltrumites' mind, like, Nolan is ready to die, he's ready to accept all his things. only for him to just decide last second that I know they die, I get things to do. And then those guys will now find out, bro, the way they killed that Viltrumite, bro, the double punch to the skull, that was gnarly, bro. Like that
Yeah.
was nuts.
Where do we think Omni-Man is going now that him and Alan they'll go to that old Viltrumite, right? The one with the long beard, Abraham, whatever his name is, Optimus Prime.
Exactly. I think that's where they need to go first for sure. Because they can't just go to Earth, like, bro. It's first of all, like, it's too much.
Imagine if Omni-Man pulls off.
Bro, if Omni-Man pulls up to Earth right now, bro, like, I don't even know what can happen. Like, bro. So, like, he can't even go to Earth, like, straight up. Like,
yeah,
it will be
I think
madness.
he has too much shame for that.
Like, so you can't even go to Earth straight up. So yeah, I feel like they'll go and link that guy. Then they'll actually start like forming a plan of action and everything. Because it's like, Mark has already and I'm not trying to get involved in this P for real, but it's like at this point, what can you do? Like, you can't pretend that the elephant in the room isn't there. Like, these guys have already told you that, we're coming back to Earth, bro. And if you like, either you submit or you die. So is a thing of you have to decide quick whether you're joining the fights or you're just going to defend it. But either way, like, you have to fight. Like, there's no choice. You have to fight because you're not listening to what them guys are saying. You have to fight regardless. Like, so it's going to be, I really like the way they're going with the story so far. And again, now that they've made it clear that there are only a few Viltrumites left, I feel like that adds a whole other layer to the whole story now, because it's like, now this, it's still a galaxy level threat, but now at least it's kind of contained. Like, we know that, okay, these guys are just like less than 50. They're not going to send the whole number they have to come and conquer it. That doesn't make sense resources wise, and it doesn't make sense Viltrumite wise, because those are proud guys. In their mind, one of them should be able to handle the job
able to do it
quickly. So again, you know that the next guy they send to Earth is going to be very strong, but it's still just going to be one guy.
If you're gonna make a prediction, right, on how many seasons of this show we're going to get, how many do you think?
So from what I'm seeing right now, bro, like, they are really building up very, like, slow. So I think I even remember seeing it on Twitter or something that they are hoping to do like 6 to 8 seasons, and that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I don't remember where I saw it, but that makes a lot of sense at the pace they are going, right? Because it's like there are so many stories that they still haven't explored, just from like the stuff I've seen online. It's like, bro, we really haven't gotten anywhere, quote unquote, in the actual meat of the Invincible story. Like, there are so many things we haven't seen. There are so many characters we haven't seen. There are so many moments that haven't come. Like a lot has happened, but like there's still so much like at the forefront. So again, if they accelerate like the coming seasons, then maybe it will have like 5 or 6. But at the pace they are going, they could probably do like 7 or 8.
I definitely think they'll do at least 6. And the reason why I say that is similar to yours, right? Like, I've seen things and I know a few pointers about where the story is going to and the pace they're going. I'm thinking it can happen in 6 seasons, especially with the number of episodes they release per season. If they're releasing like 14, maybe 20, I would say, okay, they could do it in 6. But with the way they seem like they want to do it, I think it's going to be a slow build up. And the other thing I was thinking is, I don't know if there's a time skip in the comics, right? But that's also another possibility. Maybe I'm factoring in all that time it takes for certain things to happen, when in reality there was just a time skip and they didn't actually show everything that happened within those years. And even the way villains don't die in Invincible, right? Because even here where they killed the dragon guy in this episode, he came back. So now I'm wondering, like, are the Maulers really gone? Which villains have even really left? Like, apart from what villain has died and stayed dead in Invincible? Because Mark doesn't really kill. And who else would really kill villains?
I mean, the only villain that has really stayed dead, bro, is Armstrong. And that's just
Yeah,
because we don't know whether he's coming back or not. Like,
yeah. Exactly, because he was the most recent to die, right? Like he just
yeah,
died at the end of last season, so we don't know. But yeah, they
yeah,
they bring back characters, they refresh them, even the ones you think were just one-offs. Like I thought Diamond Head was literally a one-off, and then we didn't see Batu Beast for a really, really long time, and
yeah.
then now he's here, and oh god, I remember that first introduction to Batu Beast. Everyone, that was the season where Mark was getting his ass sued, but this one felt different. This one felt extra
Bro.
disrespectful.
Yeah, no, that was probably one of the most disrespectful asshole things Mark has received to date, man. That nigga beat the brakes off Mark, bro.
Oh god. Mark and Eve, man. I really enjoyed their dreams of moving out, starting a company and everything. And again, these are the things that we were referring to earlier, right? Something just reminded that these guys are really just children, man. Like they're just
Literally.
trying to make it, but their powers and the world around them won't allow them to see road, man.
No, literally, bro. And it's so funny because I remember like when they did like Mark was like, oh yeah, like he doesn't really want to move out anymore. That he still has to be a
Mm-hmm.
big brother to Oliver and everything. And if he's like, yeah, they were moving a little bit too fast and
Quick,
everything, blah
yeah.
blah blah. And it's nice that they can have those real conversations, and it's not like there's no secrets, no nothing between them. Like it's just all out in the open. And then he's like, oh yeah, so should she keep like Invincible Ink since they don't need to pay rent anymore? And he's like, bro, these sales dog collectibles are not going to pay for themselves. And I'm just like, yeah, bro. Like
Oh,
you'll be forgetting sometimes that these guys are actually kids, bro. Like this guy
yeah.
actually is a toy collector.
And I can't tell you how much I like, I've said it already, but I can't tell you how much I like that he has Eve. Simply for the fact that most heroes, they're always like, oh, I can't tell my girlfriend this, I need to hide my secret identity, this, that, that. And then they're drowning under the expectations of everything. But it's very, very good. And I think important for Mark to have someone who he can lean on, like Eve. Eve seems to be very strong. She hasn't leaned on him yet, but I'm hoping that Mark can also be there for her when it is necessary.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, like, and that's why like Invincible is different from like other superhero shows. Right? They don't really follow those kind of
Rules,
tropes.
yeah.
Like bro, superheroes can never get the girl. Like it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work. Like so like I think the only person that
Mm-hmm.
kind of made it work was Superman, but bro, that's Superman, bro. Like that's the only
Yeah,
reason
yeah.
that stuff could work. Like any other hero, bro, like no, bro, look at someone like Spider-Man. Like, bro, that guy, there's no iteration of Spider.
Never.
Like, in the whole, bro, like literally in the whole Marvel universe, there's only one Spider-Man that ends up with Mary Jane. In the
Yep.
whole of the Marvel universe.
And he's
Like,
happy.
yeah, literally just one. So it's like, like, and that's so accurate because, bro, like being a superhero on his own is crazy, bro. Trying to be a superhero and also be
With
in
other
a be
things,
with it doesn't work. Like it really doesn't work.
it's actually a great point that you make that I wanted to lean on a little bit, because I noticed something in the last episode where Mark said no to those guys who asked him to come and save them. He said, no, I'm on a date right now. I'm sitting down. And that's why I say it's like this season is interesting because, like you said, Invincible doesn't follow the rules of typical hero shows, but I'm also noticing that Mark is choosing what kind of hero he wants to be, right? He's not that kind of drop everything to go hero. He has like a line, there's work-life balance, if you want to call it that. He's
Yep,
obviously
yep,
not the Spider-Man where everything is secondary to saving people. He's obviously like,
yep.
okay, there's other heroes here, they can handle it. It's that thing people always say where heroes run out on their wedding days going to save someone, and then people will say, you're in New York, there's like 10 other heroes there. Why does it have to be you?
That does have
Right?
to be
So
you. Yep.
yeah, so I'm enjoying that sometimes Mark is literally just like, yeah, I don't have the time for this today. Let someone else handle it. It's not every time you need Invincible, because it will come to the time where Mark is just so much stronger than a lot of these people that he doesn't need to get out of bed to go and stop their petty crimes. It becomes lazy to call him.
No, for sure, for sure.
And also, he's his own boss now. No Sisu.
No season, exactly, bro. That's a freelance. That's a freelance. Like, bro, he's a freelancer, bro.
No
He
one
don't
can tell
answer to the
him.
man no more.
Yeah, no one can tell him what to do, and he's enjoying his freedom. He's pushing his work-life balance. So long may that continue, and long may his happiness continue. Lord, please, I hope I don't regret this by next week when something happens to him.
Well, hey, man, like I said, it's all part of the game, regardless. Like, whatever happens to Mark, we know he's gonna come out because
He's
he's
gonna come
invincible
out.
or whatever.
Yeah, and even coming out, Mark coming out, and the thing we're saying about him becoming a hero is that we really do not know how Mark is going to end up at the end of this whole saga, if you want to call it that, right? Like by the time the show ends, is Mark going to be a jaded, dark, Batmanish type of figure where he's like, okay, sometimes killing is necessary and I'm just a dark protector? Or is he going to maintain some of this boyish Spider-Man charm? Because we don't know how, and fingers crossed, knock on wood, everything, we don't know how life is going to mess him up, right? We don't know if Eve is going to die tomorrow. We don't know if someone is going to kill his mom. We don't know if, we don't know how life is going to mess him up to the point where he no longer has this boyish energy that we've praised so much, and these guys are just kids. Life might mess Mark up, and at the end of the show, we don't actually have the kind of hero we all thought Mark was going to be. We have someone that's closer to the Punisher than Spider-Man. Who knows? Who
Who
knows, man?
knows?
I wouldn't
Yeah, I
put it past
mean,
this show.
yeah, again, like I said, like this show can literally do anything. So I'm just excited to see where they want to take it. Because I mean, like, even in like the future, it's so funny that like they've already hinted it, right? Like the future versions
Yep,
of Mark went down the darker path,
exactly.
and things were not
Exactly.
good, and things were not good. So it's like they are clearly trying to prevent that a lot. But the thing
Mm-hmm.
of the truth of the matter is that like what if it's a canon event? What if Mark always goes down that path? Like what?
Exactly.
But I would say at the same time though, like this particular Mark is special, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they keep
Yeah.
talking about how he's the only Mark that ever rebelled against the future mice, that didn't join his dad, that
Mm-hmm.
did all this, did all that. So clear, like it's clear that he's going to go against the grain. Obviously, like he's still going to have those tendencies, but at the end of the day, he might get to a point that he's able to overcome all that and become the ideal Invincible.
Yeah, maybe the ideal Invincible. That would be good. And one sad, scary thing is I'm not sure, like you said, apart from this Mark, I'm not sure we've seen a future or a dimension where we liked the Mark that was there, right? There was the immortal one in the last episode where he talked about Mark leaving the planet. Who knows what drove him to leave the planet? And there was all the Marks from season 2 where Angstrom was crying and shouting about how he's a monster in almost every universe. So, man, let's Lord protect our boy.
Yeah, man. Protect the
Lord,
kids,
carry
bro.
him now.
Protect the innocence.
Oh God! On that note, and on that prayerful note of well wishes for our boy, I'm thinking of wrapping up. Is there anything from this last episode and maybe the episode before that you definitely want to touch before we head?
Bro, the funniest thing was when like Eve comes after flying out through Mark's window and comes through the front door, pretending like she just got there. And I'm like, can y'all be for it? Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Children will cover you, man.
Bro, it's like we know he was out there, like, and when Debbie now brings up the conversation to Mark, the guy literally just ducks with super speed, and it's like, bro, that's such a real reaction, bro, because it's like, why is your parent trying to talk to you about sex? Like, are we be for real right now?
And you know what I loved about that scene is that like initially she brought up the conversation while she was holding him, like you can't run. I feel like we're going to have this discussion by force. Like it wasn't like the usual one where it's like, oh Mark, sit down, and if he wants to run, he can run. She hugged him and then she was like, oh, by the way, she was like, we will talk about this today. Fight force. Oh God,
Debbie, no way, man. He's saying no way, man.
Oh God, Debbie, man. God bless Debbie. She's a very strong woman. Like I feel like we haven't said that in a long time, but she deserves it.
Yeah, she the go. She the go for real, for real.
All right, beautiful people. I think we're about to take our leave. We've loved watching Invincible this season. We've loved talking about it with you guys. Please go check out the Popcorn for Dinner feed. We have our weekly deep dives on Invincible, and then in between every week we'll have discussions on episodes of Invincible as soon as the episode airs. There's other things on the feed. We've discussed a lot of the Oscars frontrunners, Sing Sing, Conclave, The Brutalist. You can check them out on our feed. And there's also other things. We're also covering Severance, which is the best TV show going right now. So please, please, please listen, like, rate, comment, interact with us on Twitter, on YouTube, Reddit, everywhere. Please like and rate. It'll really help us a lot. And if you want to contribute to the podcast, help us grow, help us get better equipment. As you can see, my webcam is not the best. We have a buy me a coffee link in the description. So please, please, please go do that. Thank you, beautiful people. Have a lovely day and stay. I wish we had the title sequence that could flash up Invincible. I might add the sound effect to this.
I'll just give them a cheeky one-liner as I always do. The kids are all right for now.
The kids are all right. ... for now. Or more. Thank you guys. Bye.